Hi, my name is Tom Hogarty. I'm a product manager at Adobe Systems, responsible for Photoshop Lightroom as well as the Camera Raw plugin that's part of Photoshop CS5. I wanted to give you a quick preview of some of the new lens correction technology that will be part of Lightroom 3 and the Camera Raw 6 plugin. Here we're looking at an image that has some obvious geometric distortion. It's a 15mm lens, and you can see the horizon line is quite bowed, and the street is unnaturally curved. So there's two ways I can fix this. I can apply a profile-based correction, and this essentially is a profile that contains all the characteristics of the lens in terms of geometric distortion, chromatic aberration, and vignetting characteristics. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to enable a lens profile correction, and you can see based on the EXIF information we can pick out the right camera make, we can pick out the right lens model, and it will assign a profile based on all of that information. And we've quickly evened out that horizon line and made the street much more natural. So with Camera Raw 6 and Lightroom 3, we'll be providing a handful of profiles to address some Canon and Nikon lenses, as well as a large number of Sigma lenses. And I'll get into more details about how you can profile your lenses in a second. Let's take a look at another image. This goes beyond traditional geometric distortion. This is actually, you can see the middle window frame is bowing out, and the outer window frame is kind of pulling in, and this is what we call wave distortion. So this would be very difficult to correct for with traditional controls, but the lens profile corrections actually can address a number of different distortion models, and so if I go ahead and I choose to correct that, we've quickly addressed those issues in this file. Okay. Here's another example. This was shot with a 24 to 105mm lens, and it's shot wide to 24. And I actually want to enable the lens profile correction, actually to address some chromatic aberration, which unfortunately is not going to be visible in this example video. But what I'm finding though is I actually liked some of the natural vignetting that was going on as part of this this image, as well as some of the geometric distortion. So if I go down to the correction amount here, I can actually control those individual parameters and essentially turn the volume up or down on each of those issues. So if I go ahead and turn vignetting all the way down to 0, that's effectively turning off that correction, and I'm returning that natural vignette to the image. And if I tweak down the distortion a little bit, I can actually bring back some of that natural distortion that was part of the original image. So I consider these volume controls that are set at 100 by default, and you can turn up the amount of correction or turn down the amount of correction based on your preference. Let's take a look at another image. Here again, shot with a 24 to 105mm lens. All I need to do is enable the profile, and I've quickly straightened out some of that curvature we saw in the image. Similar example, this directory sign is looking somewhat bowed and curved, which is not the reality. So again, I can apply a quick lens profile correction. And then I want to take it a step further. I want to actually kind of transform the perspective a bit. So I'm going to go to the manual tab here. And this is where we find the additional manual controls. Typically, in previous versions of Camera Raw and Lightroom, we had the manual chromatic aberration controls as well as the manual lens vignetting controls. Those are still here. The new part is the transform controls. So in this case, I actually want to go in and I want to transform the vertical a bit. So it looks like I shot this straight on instead of at an angle. Now at the bottom of the image, you can see that that vertical transform is bringing in some gray area. So one thing we could do is we could take the image to Photoshop CS5 and use the Content Aware Fill feature, which has received quite a bit of attention. Or I can choose to use one of the crop controls, which allows us to constrain the crop to just the viewable image area. And so it'll automatically remove that, that gray edge and crop down to just the image itself. So very, very handy. Looking at another image, again, this one just has a little bit of vignetting and some curvature. Applying the profile corrects for that. Here we're at an image shot with a Canon PowerShot G9. And so I see some obvious curvature. I can go in and manually control some of the distortion characteristics. But what if I don't have a profile for it and I actually want to use a profile-based correction? Well, what you can do is use the new Adobe Lens Profile Creator tool. We'll be providing this free on Adobe Labs as a utility to create these profiles. And basically what you want to do is you want to print out some of the test charts that we've provided, shoot them a couple different ways. The instructions will be on Adobe Labs, and then load them into this lens profile creator. All right, and it'll read all of the EXIF information, and then what you'll be able to do is decide, well, do I want to build a model that includes just geometric distortion or chromatic aberration or vignetting? And what you do is you just click Generate Profiles, and you'll save out a profile, so the next time you go to open up that image, you'll actually have the option to correct on a profile-based solution. So that fixed that image right away. There's a lot of different camera and lens combinations available to photographers, and so what the Lens Profile Creator allows us to do is give photographers a way to create their own profiles and not necessarily be dependent on Adobe providing those specific profiles. Here's another image. We'll finish up on this one. This I shot relatively quickly with a point-and-shoot camera while I was in New York, and I just love the fact that there was still a traditional darkroom in one of the studios I was visiting. So I don't have a profile correction for this, but there's some obvious geometric distortion there. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the manual controls just to correct for that, and I can tap the V key to give myself a grid. And I'm going to go ahead and actually correct for some of the vertical distortion as well. I'll make it look like I shot it straight on. Okay. I'm going to hit the V key again to remove that. And it's just a quick way to even out that image and make it look a little bit more natural, a little bit more even. And so I can use the manual controls, even though I don't necessarily have a profile for this lens. So that's a quick preview of the lens correction technology that's going to be part of Photoshop CS5, the Camera Raw plugin, as well as the Lightroom 3 final release. So we're very excited about this and look forward to hearing your thoughts on this quick preview. Thank you.